Consent management has become one of the most complex layers in any modern analytics setup. You've got your CMP sitting at the front door, asking users whether they're okay with cookies. But behind that door, you've got Google Analytics, Meta Pixel, TikTok, Google Ads, and maybe 15 other tools, all firing tags, dropping cookies, and collecting data. And it's not just about whether tracking is implemented. It's about whether it only happens when it's allowed to happen. In this video, we'll walk you through everything you need to know about consent and cookie monitoring in Trackingplan so you can stay compliant, protect data quality, and sleep just a little better at night. In a sentence, Trackingplan gives you full visibility into how user consent impacts your data collection and alerts you the moment something doesn't add up. So, instead of guessing whether your consent setup is behaving correctly, you can actually see it, monitor it, and act on it fast. It monitors consent acceptance and rejection rates across your entire digital ecosystem, continuously observing your data to understand patterns and behaviors and adapting itself as your stack evolves. It detects when data is being sent without the required consent. Yes, Trackingplan catches this automatically. It identifies which cookies and destinations require consent. And it does this intelligently using AI without you having to manually classify everything. It offers you real-time alerts when consent is not collected, new cookies appear, or pixels behave unexpectedly, so you can act immediately on any possible risk or sudden change. And most importantly, it does this by monitoring real user interactions, not synthetic tests. A lot of tools out there use synthetic tests. That means they spin up a bot, visit your website, simulate a few clicks, and check if your CMP is working. But here's what they won't tell you, unless you've manually set up a test for it. What happens when someone on an older version of Chrome on mobile hits a specific product page where a rogue pixel is firing without consent? It is practically impossible to create tests for every edge case. Trackingplan continuously observes what real users are doing across your websites, apps, and digital assets. That means the consent data you see in Trackingplan reflects actual behavior across different user paths, devices, browsers, and countries, or any tricky scenario you can think of. So, if something only breaks for Safari users in France on a specific landing page after your latest CMP update, that's the kind of thing you actually want to know. All right, let's get into the good stuff. Let me walk you through the consent monitoring dashboard. This is your command center for everything consent related. It's where you can monitor acceptance rates, spot issues, and drill into the details across your destinations, cookies, domains, and pixels. First up, the Overview tab. Think of this as your consent health check at a glance, where Trackingplan highlights the things that deserve your attention. Right at the top, you'll see the daily consent acceptance rate, showing how often things are happening under the right consent conditions. Next to that, you'll get a breakdown across your destinations, cookies, domains, and pixels. Here's where color coding comes in handy. Blue means something new that Trackingplan has recently detected. Gray means it's optional, no consent required for this one. Green means consent is being properly collected and that everything's working as expected. And yellow means something that requires consent is not respecting it consistently. So, at a single glance, you can see what's healthy, what's new, and what's going sideways in your entire stack. No digging required. Let's scroll down a bit where you'll find your active consent-related warnings. These warnings surface two types of issues. Possible consent violations, where data is being sent without proper authorization, or sudden changes in consent acceptance rates, which may suggest something broke in your banner, tagging logic, or CMP configuration. Each warning gives you quick context, including what's happening, which elements are affected, when it was first and last seen, and any notes your team wants to add, like who's owning it or what the status is. And importantly, these warnings are also included in Trackingplan Digest, so your team stays informed even if they're not actively in the platform. New cookies appear? You'll know. A pixel starts firing without consent? You'll know. Consent rates drop on a specific domain? You'll know. Now, clicking on any warning takes you to the warning management view. This is where things get really powerful. From here, you can see a detailed graph showing the trend of the issue over time, adjust tolerances if needed, or share the warning directly with any team member. But the real magic happens by clicking into Trackingplan's warning analysis. Instead of forcing you to piece together logs and patterns manually, in just a few clicks, you can go from something's wrong with consent to here's exactly what's happening, here's why, here's the impact, and here's what to do about it. Next up, the Destination tab. This view helps you analyze consent rates across your different analytics and marketing platforms. It means you can easily compare how consent is distributed across GA4, Google Ads, Meta, TikTok, or whatever you're running. Here, the consent rate shows the percentage of times users explicitly grant consent for a given destination. And because this metric is tracked over time, it becomes much easier to spot trends, catch problems early, and verify that fixes you've made are actually working. You'll also see consent status, which indicates whether a destination or cookie requires consent. And here's the clever part. Trackingplan figures this out automatically. Its AI-powered learning system continuously observes your data and learns from it as your stack evolves. Over a self-learning period, if consent is consistently granted above a certain threshold, it's automatically classified as consent required. If no consent activity is detected during the learning period, then it's classified as consent optional, without you having to go in and tag every single one manually. But, and this is important, you always have the option to override it. Next, the Cookies tab. If you've ever tried to manually audit every cookie across multiple domains, you know how painful that is. This tab does it for you automatically based on real user data. This gives you a clear view of every single cookie detected across your monitored domains. And it's especially useful for auditing your cookie footprint and making sure your CMP setup is doing what it's supposed to do. And quickly identify cookies that are active even without consent, which is exactly the kind of thing that gets you in trouble. The Domains tab works in a similar way, but organized by domain. This helps you understand how consent and tracking behavior vary across different websites or sections of your digital ecosystem. This is particularly useful if your consent setup isn't identical across all sites, or if one domain has become the interesting one after a release. And by interesting, we of course mean slightly alarming. And finally, the Pixels tab, your deep dive into every tracking pixel firing across your sites. This is where you can monitor, audit, and troubleshoot pixel behavior in one place. This is incredibly useful when you want to understand whether a pixel is behaving correctly, or whether it has decided to completely ignore the rules and fire whenever it feels like it, which sadly does happen often. Now, everything we've seen so far gives you a fantastic overview, but sometimes you need to go deeper. You need to understand why something is happening in a specific scenario. That's where Trackingplan's Data Explorer and Tracks Explorer come in. From these tools, you can review consent at the event or track level, filter and segment data by consent status, analyze discrepancies across pages, destinations, or user paths, and correlate consent with other attributes like language, country, device, or browser to uncover patterns. This is where you move from something looks wrong to, oh, it only happens on this browser, on this page type after this release. For example, let's say you're seeing a consent violation on your checkout page, but only from users in France using Chrome on mobile. With Tracks Explorer, you can filter down to that exact scenario, inspect the tracks that were sent with and without consent, and pinpoint the root cause. So let's bring it all together. Consent and cookie management is complex. And it's only getting more complex as you add new tools, new pixels, new destinations, and new regulations to the mix. Trackingplan's consent monitoring gives you real-time monitoring based on real user interactions, not synthetic tests. Automatic detection of which cookies and destinations require consent, powered by AI, but always under your control. Full visibility into consent rates across destinations, cookies, domains, and pixels, all in one dashboard. Automated warnings for consent violations and unexpected changes in consent acceptance rates. AI-powered analysis that tells you not just what's wrong, but why it's wrong, what the business impact is, and what to do about it. And deep dive tools like Data Explorer and Tracks Explorer for when you need to get into the details. Because consent is no longer just a legal checkbox. It's a core part of data quality. And when consent breaks, your analytics break with it. If you want to learn more, check out the full documentation linked below, and we'll see you in the next video. Happy and compliant tracking!